Gravity Falls is undoubtedly one of the most iconic and memorable Disney XD shows, and it has aged spectacularly well. Few shows have left as lasting an impression on me as this one. Even as a kid, I was captivated by its unique charm. It masterfully blended mystery, confusion, and comedy in a way that felt fresh and exciting. When I first watched it, the overarching mystery of the show largely flew over my head. Not because I was a clueless middle schooler, though let's be honest, I totally was, but because my access to episodes was sporadic, to say the least. I could only watch it at my grandma's house, relying on live broadcasts or the hope that an episode had been recorded. These were rough times for a budding fan. As a result, there were entire episodes I missed and didn't see until years later, such as the hilarious Summerween or the one where Mabel falls in love with a merman. Despite my fragmented viewing experience, the show left a mark. Even with the gaps in the story, Gravity Falls stood out. It wasn't just another comedy, it was something special. The show masterfully combined elements of science fiction, horror, comedy, and above all, mystery, creating an experience that felt one of a kind. I can vividly remember sitting down with a bowl of spicy Cheez-Its and cinnamon graham crackers and watching this exciting world open up to me on the TV screen. Nobody come at me for that weird combination of snacks. It epitomizes my childhood, so if any of you make fun of me, it's gonna really hurt my feelings. Trust me, cinnamon graham crackers and spicy Cheez-Its, it's the move. Those were the times, and I miss them. But I'm also glad I can look back on them. Gravity Falls is one of those rare shows that continues to resonate long after its final episode. Though it premiered in 2012, it feels timeless, a testament to its exceptional craftsmanship. On the surface, it's a quirky, family-friendly cartoon about twins spending their summer in a bizarre supernatural town. But dig deeper, and you'll find a richly layered narrative, sharp humor, and characters with remarkable depth. It's a show that knows how to entertain, surprise, and leave a lasting impact. Rewatching season 1 now has been a refreshing experience. The storytelling feels original and lively, occasionally dropping subtle hints about the greater mysteries of Gravity Falls. These hints are placed so carefully that you almost forget about them, until a callback suddenly connects the dots and reminds you of an earlier ambiguous scene. What's brilliant is how the show never feels bogged down by its own lore. It gives the story room to breathe and thrive. Another quick standout feature is the music. If you're revisiting season 1, pay close attention to the soundtrack. One thing I noticed this watch around is how each scene introduces a new track that perfectly matches the mood. The music is a vibrant, dynamic element of the show, adding to its limitless creativity and atmosphere, and it's something that easily can go unseen, so make sure you give it the attention it deserves, because it's truly peak. Season 1 of Gravity Falls strikes a perfect balance between embracing its trademark weirdness and keeping the episodes grounded. While the show thrives on how odd it is, with gnomes, old ghosts, and angsty teens, it never feels quite overwhelming. At its core, the first season remains a drama about two twins adjusting to life in a strange new town. Each episode starts with relatable, real-life scenarios before escalating into bizarre sci-fi or horror-filled twists. One second we have Dipper at a diner wanting free pancakes. These free pancakes lead to him wanting to prove his masculinity with an arcade-style game with a pancake prize. This leads to the personal conclusion that he isn't manly enough for his own standards. And then, boom, giant horsemen who lift weights and eat beef jerky are screaming at him for hours on end. The show is kind of like regular show in that aspect. You start off with something normal and then bang! Robotic Nessie controlled by a lunatic man who just runs around willy-nilly. The show cleverly sprinkles hints about its larger narrative throughout the first season. From Dipper's ominous discovery of the journal, to Gideon's possession of a second one, the shack's mysterious hidden doors, the quirky townspeople, and most intriguingly, the secrets Grunkle Stan is hiding, season 1 expertly builds a sense of intrigue and anticipation unlike any other show I've ever seen. One of the season's greatest strengths lies in its characters. Dipper and Mabel Pines are some of the most relatable and likable protagonists in recent memory. Dipper's curious and logical mindset complements Mabel's boundless optimism and creativity perfectly. Their sibling dynamic feels incredibly authentic, filled with moments of love, humor, and the occasional clash, as all siblings do. Grunkle Stan is another standout. Initially presented as a shady, hilarious conman, he gradually reveals surprising depth and heart, becoming one of the show's most compelling characters. Supporting characters like Soos and Wendy add even more richness. Soos provides consistent comic relief while giving us glimpses of his earnest, big-hearted nature, while Wendy's laid-back and cool personality shows us a different side of Dipper and Mabel. And there's the minor characters that really keep the show interesting, like Grenda, Candy, Gideon, Old Man McGucket, Pacifica, Blendin Blandin, the Get 'em guy, Toby Determined, the Lumberjack, Sheriff Blubbs, and the other cop guy. And there's countless others that just become staples of the show. I could just keep going and going and going and going. The character dynamics in Gravity Falls are truly top tier. Dipper and Mabel are one of the most hilarious and lovable sibling duos in 21st century animation. Soos is a brilliantly static character whose humor and loyalty remain steady throughout. Wendy's pseudo relationship with Dipper is both funny and engaging, adding a lighthearted will they won't they element that keeps the viewers entertained. A fun note about Dipper and Wendy is the irony of their relationship is really funny, because at times you can kind of slip into Dipper's mindset of, oh, he's got a real shot of dating this chick. But then every now and then you get the reality check of, oh yeah, this kid's 12 and she's 15, and that 3-year age gap is pretty intense at that age. And I think Wendy is just so focused on having a good time as a normal 15-year-old that she doesn't really realize that Dipper is completely enamored with her for romantic reasons. Their dynamic is great though, and it continues to be hilarious throughout the show. And then there's Gideon. His over-the-top psychotic personality is endlessly entertaining, blending menace with just enough absurdity to make him a memorable yet patronizingly amusing antagonist. Season 1 just does an excellent job of laying the foundation for its characters and storylines, creating a world that feels vibrant, layered, and ready to surprise you at every turn. Creating funny and likable characters is one thing, but it takes truly great writing to make those characters feel real, complete with their flaws and imperfections. Gravity Falls excels at this. The characters aren't just lovable, they're also incredibly complex. They make mistakes, have immature moments, and occasionally show selfishness. It's only natural, after all. I mean, these main characters are literal children. It makes sense for Dipper and Mabel to have bratty or self-centered moments, and these imperfections make them all the more relatable. Yeah, it's a little annoying at times to see them arguing over something so simple, but that's just how humans are. The writing is really great too, especially when you put it next to the other stuff Disney was putting out at the time. I mean, typical Disney characters just scream or make annoying one-liners in my opinion, and that's the extent of their depth. But Gravity Falls actually has characters. Good ones at that. Each episode in season 1 wraps up with a meaningful life lesson. These lessons are subtle enough to avoid feeling preachy, but wholesome enough to add to the show's charm. They also serve as a stark contrast to the darker and more intense events that unfold in season 2. As a kid, these lessons might pass unnoticed, but as an adult, they're profoundly heartwarming. They offer a reminder of the importance of themes like growing up, trust, and family bonds. Messages that feel especially refreshing after a long day of staring at a screen, editing little clips together for YouTube videos. But hey, I love my job. Beyond its emotional depth, Gravity Falls is also a show that takes risks. Huge risks. While season 1 doesn't push the boundaries as far as season 2 does, the seeds of bold storytelling are already present. For example, Bill Cipher, a literal demon, makes his debut in a Disney series. A bold move for any network, let alone Disney, for a kids show. While Bill only appears briefly in season 1, other elements of the season like Gideon, the journals, and the chilling Summerween trickster, who is, absolutely horrifying, they really stand out as daring choices. Even today, over a decade later, the idea of teenagers being possessed by the ghosts of old people is unsettling and edgy for a children's show, and you really don't see that. Gravity Falls is kind of unique in that way. Risks like these are inherently challenging. By definition, they're dangerous. There's always the possibility they might not pay off, but when they do succeed, the rewards can be extraordinary. Alex Hirsch wasn't content just to pitch another run-of-the-mill animated series to Disney. He had a bold, unique vision, and he stood by it knowing its value. It would have been easy for the network to just dismiss him, but his confidence, coupled with his undeniable storytelling skills, carried him through. And here we are, over 10 years later, with an amazing show. Ultimately, these risks are what set Gravity Falls apart. The show's willingness to push boundaries and embrace its darker, more ambitious ideas have earned it a dedicated cult following. Even years later, it continues to captivate new fans, proving that the risks Hirsch took were well worth it. The risks Gravity Falls takes go way beyond the supernatural, because the show also tackles some surprisingly mature themes. I mean, Grunkle Stan. He literally makes his living conning people. While this is played for laughs, it's worth noting that Disney XD was a channel aimed at preteens and young teenagers when the show aired in the early 2010s. These themes were unusually serious for the time, making Gravity Falls stand out. There's nothing like smoking or drinking in the show, but it frequently references tax evasion, gambling, and theft. Content that feels pretty bold for a kids network when you really think about it. It's hard to imagine how Alex Hirsch managed to get some of these ideas past the Disney showrunners, but I mean, obviously thank goodness that he did, because Gravity Falls remains as one of the funniest and most intriguing cartoons, rivaling cartoons that are actually designed for adult audiences. Hirsch created a series ostensibly for kids, but enjoyed just as much, if not more, by adults. Some might argue that the widespread love for Gravity Falls is merely a byproduct of nostalgia, that people cherish the show because it reminds them of being young. But that theory doesn't actually hold up. I've met people who watched the show for the first time as adults, and they just absolutely adored it. Plus, Gravity Falls won 2 Emmys, proving its quality is recognized far beyond the nostalgic 20-somethings. Honestly, I've rarely heard anyone criticize this show. The harshest complaint I've ever encountered is that it wasn't long enough. And to to be fair, that is a valid point. Gravity Falls is so fantastic that you can't help but wish for more than the just 2 brief seasons. Of course, the story officially ended with Dipper and Mabel's summer vacation coming to a close, but who's to say they couldn't have gone back the following summer? But I'm glad that didn't happen. As much as I'd love more episodes, I think Gravity Falls ended at just the right time. Extending it further might have risked tarnishing its legacy. The truth is, the longer a show runs, the greater the chance it has of losing its spark. I mean, this is an obvious truth. Many of the greatest shows ever ran for only a few seasons. Sure, there are exceptions like The Simpsons, but The Simpsons is an animated sitcom built to sustain an episodic format rather than a serialized narrative. Gravity Falls, on the other hand, thrives on its tightly woven story, and stretching it out could have diluted the magic that makes it so special. If Gravity Falls were to continue past season 2, it would face the challenge of maintaining its core theme: growth. Unlike shows like Rick and Morty or The Simpsons, where characters remain ageless despite years of storytelling, Gravity Falls is fundamentally different. Growing up is central to its narrative. Freezing its characters in time would undermine the show's message. Moreover, the plot is intricately tied to the concept of a single summer vacation, where the passage of time is woven into the story itself. While Phineas and Ferb also revolves around summer vacation, it doesn't rely on a continuous storyline like Gravity Falls does. For Phineas and Ferb, summer vacation is simply the setting. But for Gravity Falls, summer vacation is the story. For Gravity Falls to have a 3rd season, the characters would need to grow older. While this wouldn't be impossible, it would be significantly harder to alter the series like this. A potential 3rd season would likely function more as an epilogue or even a sequel. Personally, I think an epilogue-style continuation is more realistic, but I wouldn't be opposed to a sequel where Maple and Dipper are adults, returning to uncover more mysteries of the titular Oregon town. But instead of speculating on what could have been, let's focus on what was. The series began with 2 kids being dropped off at a mysterious shack because their parents wanted them to see the world. For a child watching this unfold, it was pure magic. Dipper and Mabel embark on incredible adventures just by exploring the woods around their house. As a kid, I was annoyingly envious. My house was surrounded by woods too, yet there were no screaming manitors, no sinister unicorns, and definitely no talking triangles. I never wanted to build a roller coaster like they did in Phineas and Ferb. I wanted to explore, to discover hidden secrets, and to battle the unknown. Gravity Falls let me live in that dreamscape for 20 minutes at a time. It didn't just entertain, it inspired. And that's what great shows should do. They should make you yearn for adventure, for change, for something greater than just this life here on Earth. Passive consumption feels hollow, but Gravity Falls is anything but passive. It inspires. Season 1 of Gravity Falls is truly special, unmatched in how it captures that sense of wonder. Season 2 is amazing in its own right, it's just different. More intense, more layered. Season 1 is simpler, making it the perfect comfort show for when I want to relax, laugh, or dive into a brilliantly crafted story. I hope Gravity Falls has the same effect on you that it does on me. Its impact is truly unique. So here's to Gravity Falls, and here's to you for sticking around to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what shows or movies you'd like for me to cover next. Cheers.